écoutez la West Africa Démocratie Radio.
Citizens R is evolving as the WADR's partnership with NET continues. This April, your NET Democracy and Governance program is going to the Sahel. We will focus on Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other West African countries, including Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and the Gambia. Bolder conversations, real voices, inclusive discussions. Let's talk democracy. Let's talk governance. Let's talk your truth. Citizens R Season 2 in partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy, NET, on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar.
I have witnessed so many elections, and I will tell you for a fact that INEC cannot deliver free and fair election.
We need to even unpack what political commitment is.
This April on West Africa Democracy Radio, Citizens Hour goes to the Sahel.
Democracy right now in Mali is an idea that has been rejected.
The Multinational Joint Task Force remains committed to its mandate of creating a safe and secure environment in the Lake Chad areas.
In partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, your favorite democracy and governance program will focus on Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other West African countries, including Benin, Nigeria, the Gambia, and Togo. From comprehensive election coverage to informative investigative pieces, this upcoming season will provide new insights and thought-provoking conversations. Citizens Hour Season 2, in partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar. It's you speaking.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Your current affairs program, Citizens Hour, is now more inclusive, more educative, and brings you a broader perspective on political and governance matters. This quarter on Citizens Hour, we spotlight issues on democracy, civic education, women and youth participation in governance, and other policy issues. Every Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. and a repeat broadcast at 6 p.m. on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM, Dakar. Also, don't miss our special monthly debate, which comes up every last Saturday of the month on trending political and governance issues in the sub-region. Citizens Hour on West Africa Democracy Radio. It's your time to speak.
L'heure des citoyens en partenariat avec NED revient. À compter du mois d'avril, le programme Démocratie et Gouvernance, en collaboration avec NED, s'étend à d'autres pays ouest-africains.
Citizens R is evolving as the WADR's partnership with NET continues. This April, your NET Democracy and Governance program is going to the Sahel. We will focus on Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other West African countries, including Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and the Gambia. Bolder conversations, real voices, inclusive discussions. Let's talk democracy. Let's talk governance. Let's talk your truth. Citizens Are Season 2 in partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy NED on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of Citizens Hour, your democratic, citizens engaging and current affairs radio program. We are coming to you live from West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM in Dakar. Citizens Hour comes to you live every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. in Dakar and 11:30 in Nigeria, bringing you engaging conversation. I am Veronique Njah here in Dakar, and I do have my co-host in Nigeria, Usman Umar, joining us online. Good morning, Usman.
Good morning, Veronique, and it's a warm weather right here in the capital, Abuja, Nigeria. Of course, this is a warm welcome to our dedicated listeners who are tuning in from across the world, and of course via our global digital streams. It is an absolute privilege to be co-anchoring this program this day for the first time with Veronique. Of course, Imo, my usual partner, is unavoidably absent for today. But not to worry, we have got about 90 minutes as usual of unfiltered high-stakes analysis looking directly at structural transparency and institutional integrity. Now, of course, our first segment of the program will be zeroing in on a very prominent issue. We're asking a very simple question: ballot hygiene or democratic bottleneck? Of course, we are referring to a very recent decision by the Independent National Electoral Commission, that is the electoral umpire in Nigeria, that the decision that led to the deregistration of about 5 political parties. Now, following this very recent regulatory sweeping exercise by the Electoral Commission, the ballot paper is getting smaller, as a lot of analysts have said. Now, does pruning non-performing microscopic parties, that is smaller parties, strengthen our electoral ecosystem? Or does it stifle the vital grassroots voices struggling to find an alternative to the political giants? Veronique.
Yes, meanwhile, Usman, in our second half, we will be shining up light on a powerful, uncompromising spotlight on the crisis eating away our region, which is the drug trade and corruption in the region. So the question is, who is protecting the networks? West Africa is no longer just a transit point for South American cartels. It has become a major consumption and manufacturing hub. We are bypassing the street level arrest to ask the deeper questions, and you would say more dangerous questions. Which high-ranking institutional figures, custom officials, and political actors are providing the bulletproof vest for these syndicates? Usman.
Of course, this is a program that pulls no punches, so you may want to keep your dial locked on 94.9 FM in Dakar and from around the world on WADR.org. We'll be right back.
All right, we will welcome our listeners in the live stream on Facebook and YouTube. You can be part of the conversation by dropping your thoughts, questions directly in our comment sessions on our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Let's bring you on board our guest for today, Usman.
Yes, of course, we have joining us from Abuja here, Mr. Emmanuel Ogbechi. He is a prominent political analyst and a media consultant based here in Abuja. I will also have joining us Mr. Rwang Patrick Stephen. Of course, he is from the Department of Political Science, Faculty of Social Sciences at the Federal University of Kashiri in Gombe State. Gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on Citizens Hour, especially to my chairman, of course, Mr. Emmanuel Ogbechi. Good morning, and it's good to have you join us, sir.
Good morning.
Okay.
Greetings from Gombe.
Good morning, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Okay, right. Usman, at the moment, it seems like we don't have Mr. Emmanuel online at the moment, so hopefully we'll have him as the conversation goes on. But let's begin the conversation. So we'll start with you, Mr. Patrick. What do you make of the court's decision to deregister 5 political parties, including the ADC?
It's a laughable development, very avoidable, shameful, and democratically retrogressive in all ramifications. Why do I say so? First, the timing. Even if it is necessary or expedient for the courts to decide on such case, the timing is wrong. Why? Because Nigeria is already tense, preparing for 2027 general election. So the timing is wrong, the action is wrong, and the attitudes of Gbajabi Amila, yes, because who took the case to court? The court did not wake up and just pass judgment. It was the former Speaker of the House, the leader of the NFFL, that is the body of former legislators of Nigeria, that took the case to the High Court, Abuja. So, and the same Gbajabi Amila was the one that said to certain Leke that he will support him and destabilize the ADC. So you can see the link. One character appearing in different forms. So it is an avoidable development, unnecessary. And it has hit the polity already. Everybody's talking about it. Political watchers are talking. The civil society are talking. Even the opposition parties are talking. Even though that the Court of Appeal have ordered stay of execution. That on that, the issue is retrogressive in all ramifications because the hit towards 2027 is high because the ruling party, using their link, have shown that they are desperate, completely desperate in winning the next election. So the timing is wrong, one. The action is wrong, and the development is not good in totality for democracy and the image of democracy. Like I said, the NFFL took the case to the court. The High Court, Abuja, did not wake up and just say, ADC, you are no more, AA, you are no more, and the rest of them. It was the NFFL that took the case to court. And who is the chairman or the convener of NFFL? Is former Speaker Gbajabi Amila, who is the chief of staff to the president.
All right, Mr. Patrick, let me take you on this because like the background you've already laid, that is an easy response. That should be an easy response for any lover of democracy. But of course, the commission also came up with guidelines which are contained in the amended Electoral Act, which they used in arriving at the decision to deregister political parties. Part of the part of the requirement for a political party to go into the 2027 election is that it must have, in previous election, won at least one elective seat at the federal, state, or local government level.
That's right.
Or secure at least 25% of the votes cast in at least one state in a presidential election. None of these political parties can actually lay claim to fulfilling these very fundamental conditions. In addition to that, of course, if you look at our ballot paper, what it will look like if all the political parties were allowed to participate. I mean, it can only just be imagined. What's your take on this?
How many political parties do you have in Nigeria? The active ones are about 18 or 19. So that is not an excuse. The point is, this is politics. And let me go back to your point. These parties have been winning election. These parties have been winning election at the local at the local government level, even at the state and federal level. So there is no basis for such case or for such action to take place in the first place in this era and in this time. So there is no excuse. These parties have been active. And if you say you're talking about the inactive party, are they the only inactive parties? There are about 18 or 19 political parties registered by INEC.
Actually, as of June, yes, as of this month, INEC actually has 22 registered political parties on its portal.
Excellent. So they even
so
added.
Can only imagine what
so
the ballot paper will do.
It is not even the ballot paper is not the issue. We're talking about democracy here. If we keep laying emphasis on ballot paper length, then we'll miss the point. What did the democratic law permit? What did the Constitution say? What is the expectation of Democrats to democracy? Most time we talk about democracy. What about the attitude of Democrats? What about the attitude of the players? This is not right. They have overhit the polity already. Hopes are high. Hopes are rising. Tension is high. That is not democracy being practiced by Democrats in the first place. So my plea is, let the political players stay low on their interests. Let them stay calm. Let them build this democracy have never built itself. Right from the Athenians' time, democracy have never built itself. It is the people. And I see people giving different definition of democracy, Nigeria democracy. There's not like Nigeria democracy. Democracy is democracy anywhere. Let the right thing be done. The timing is wrong, the action is wrong, and the attitude of the political player, especially in Nigeria, is completely wrong and condemnable. That is just the position. So the length of the ballot paper, number of registered political parties. In India, how many political parties are there? So the action is completely avoidable and unnecessary for democracy as far as Nigeria is concerned. The United States have over 200 political parties, apart from the Democrats and Republicans that are just in the forefront. There are other political parties in the United States. And I hope you have seen the length of their ballot paper also. So the ballot paper is not an issue. So Bajabi Amila should allow democracy to have its course in Nigeria. Why am I hammering on him? Because he told Leke during his birthday that he supported him. He loved what he's doing in the ADC, destabilizing the ADC. So the same person.
The same thing could be said of the president, who at one of his outings, he said he loved what is happening to the ADC, even though he is a Democrat. As at that time, ADC was having issues, especially with respect to registration, all of that. But wouldn't that just be political? Shouldn't that be taken as just a political banter?
From who? From the president to the opposition?
From the chief of staff, yes.
I said that he is the invisible hand. He is the invisible hand. And my analysis has been, let him stop his excesses so that democracy in Nigeria can grow or develop. And Democrats, they must learn to respect the tenets of democracy, which is what? Fair play. Equal opportunity.
Okay, Mr. Patrick, you spoke about timing, you also spoke about the attitude. So what do these interferences tell about Nigeria's current political realities?
That's a very good question. It's tense already. The attitudes have made those who are not interested in politics to be interested. It has reawakened people because the desperation of the ruling party is very visible. So it is good for democracy in Nigeria because it has awakened the people. The consciousness of the people has been up. That article is everywhere talking. The ADC, they are not sleeping. I think yesterday also there was a protest by the ADC political party, their supporters in Abuja. What was their demand? that the court case should be expunged. So I like it because it have reawakened consciousness of the people. And 2027 is going to be very interesting. Why? Because the people will take their country back from this desperation being displayed.
Very ambitious comment there. But again, we've seen things like this happen in Nigeria over time. We saw the last elections, there was a lot of talk regarding who would win. We saw a lot of social media interactions, young people here and there. But it's still the same realities. What is your assurance that things will change this time around? Because it's the same issues time and time again. But I mean, you've made very ambitious comments, I must say.
Things will change. Things will change. 2023 is different from 2027. Why? You can see the protests going on the street of Nigeria, from Abuja to Port Harcourt to Lagos to everywhere. People demanding justice. I don't want to talk about insecurity because insecurity is the dark side of the nation. But things will change in 2027, despite insecurity that is eating and ravaging the nation. Things will change.
All right, I think let me just also...
It's really awakening.
Let me also, Mr. Patrick, let me also take you on, just like the question Veronique asked, because we've been part of quite a number of elections in Nigeria, and leading up to every major election, you always have this type of drama playing out, and you have big and bold and ambitious, as Veronique would say, statements being made. We will take back our country and all of that. But going back to the subject of this conversation, where you have the alternatives, the alternatives that people will look up to, already been, decimated, so to speak, because you recall that even before this very moment, where we are talking about deregistration, there were attempts or allegations that the ruling party had actually sent moles into the ADC to destabilize the party, and we saw how that played out, especially during their convention, where you had different groups holding national conventions for the same political party that could have actually been what will APC a run for their money in the 2027 election. Don't you think that all of this enthusiasm and hope could be dashed should things stay this way?
I don't think so. The hunger in 2023 is not the same in 2027 or 2026. The people the weakness of Nigerians in 2023 is not the same. The reality of inflation in this country currently, I'm happy that you're in Abuja, it's not the same. So things will change for good. If all things work well, things will change.
I love the if
that
all things.
Yes, that act of deregistering the political party has caused a huge lacuna in the polity of Nigeria. There have been this conversation of one-party state. Even though as a political scientist, we have been telling them that even if everybody declined to the APC, Nigeria is not a one-party state because it is the constitution that states that this state will practice one-party system. But the desperation is there. So I love your comparison. 2019, there was an election. 2023, there was an election. And 2027, there was an election. So 2027, there will be an election rather. And that election of 2027 is going to be very, very defining. Why? Because of the consciousness, the reawakening of consciousness of Nigerians towards that election, geared or backed by the desperation of the ruling party. That is the link. Desperation, awakening consciousness of Nigerians. Let me use Veronica's word, towards the ambitious 2027 election in the country.
Well, Veronique, I don't know if you want to come in, but let me just ask this follow-up question, because you have said something about reawakening of consciousness of Nigerians. And I have gone round, done thoughts on especially one of the major exercises that is still ongoing and is about to end in the coming days, which is, of course, voter registration.
Usman, just before you conclude with the question, I'd just like to inform you that we are now joined by Mr. Emmanuel, just in case, so that we level the conversation. Yes, you can go ahead, please.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Emmanuel Ogbeche. All right. While he responds, Mr.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me express my regrets for joining late. It totally escaped me, and I had some other engagement. But I am here now, and I'm following what the conversation is about. Thank you.
And it's good to have you join us. So before you, I was about to ask Mr. Patrick. I was sharing an observation that I have seen, having gone around to monitor the ongoing. One of the ongoing cardinal activities by INEC, which is voter registration. And I have seen quite an unusual number of especially younger people coming on board, coming out to, of course, get their voter cards, get registered to vote. And this, of course, speaks to the enthusiasm that Mr. Patrick is sharing. And the question I'm asking again, Mr. Patrick, is, should things go this way, even though, of course, the Court of Appeal have asked INEC to maintain status quo, meaning that the parties remain at this. If should they succeed in deregistering ADC, which is one of the leading opposition parties in the country as we have it today, what do you think will become of the hope, the enthusiasm, the interest of this huge number of young people? You talked about the situation being tense already earlier. What will become of all of this?
It's going to be a very good one. Why? Because the movement, the 5 political parties, if they are deregistered, they will move and align with the NDC. Whether they like the NDC now or not, but if INEC go ahead to deregister them, they will move into ADC and make sure that the APC government is ousted out in 2027. They will not stay back and look without doing anything. Should INEC go ahead and deregister them, they're going to join massive force with the NDC, the Kwankwaso and Obi tickets. That is what will happen.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. Mr. Emmanuel, thank you for joining us once again. First, I would just want to know, what do you make of the court's decision to deregister the political parties, including the ADC?
Okay, first of all, let me say it's regrettable that we will be talking about party deregistration, however constitutional it is, because the INEC has issued guidelines and timetable towards the 2027 elections, and has also accepted all the political parties that are duly recognized on its database. But I find it objectionable that there should be a limitation to participation, political participation, or deregistration of parties. I think it is one constitutional provision that should be deleted from the Nigerian 1999 Constitution as amended. It does not make sense. Parties should naturally evolve and parties should naturally die if they do not meet acceptability by citizens. Citizens should be the major barometer in determining the existence of any political party after registration. I do not know how many countries do deregister parties once they are registered. If your party isn't acceptable and the government isn't committing resources in terms of grants to political parties, there is no reason why you should be bothered about the acceptability or not. But that being said, we must not lose sight of the fact that it is a constitutional guarantee at the moment by the INEC. But perception does matter, and the perception at the moment does not, align with the majority of opinion that any party should be deregistered at this moment. It cast a very dark cloud over the political ecosystem towards 2027. If I should intervene quickly, I was listening in on the last speaker as to what will happen if the Court of Appeal, if the matter were to go contrary to the ATC. One of two scenarios here. It is either all the opposition political parties align with the NTC, or it could dampen the enthusiasm and people could stay away, which could adversely affect the performance of the NTC in the next political circle. Because at the moment, there is a thinking that votes won't count as it didn't count in previous elections. And the arguments have been that, why do I have to waste my time to be at the polling station on time and, try to cast my vote when the electoral umpire isn't credible, will not guarantee free and fair elections. Remember that today, Nigerians are voting in Ekiti. Citizens, indigents or citizens of Ekiti are voting. So it will act as a barometer towards 2027. And after this, the show election, I think it will give an inkling whether we're going to have free and fair elections, and if at all Nigerians are really ready for an alternative in 2027.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. I go back to Mr. Ruan Patrick Stephen, because there is on election day, especially when political parties are a bit many on the ballot paper. I go back to that issue again. The tendency for the voter to become confused is always there due to lack of political education and enlightenment that usually precedes each of our election cycle. Shouldn't the registering non-performing and poorly performing political parties be a plus to democracy, where we will only have performing and well-known and established political parties on the ballot paper that will not cause confusion for the voter, so that he goes straight to the booth and, of course, vote for the political parties he wants to vote for?
It is defined as government of the people, by the people and for the people. It is not government of small ballot, by small ballot and for small ballots. There are people, there are civil society who are meant to educate the people. The INEC, one of its functions is sensitization of the people. Assuming they have 50 political parties, they have the money to print sizable ballot that can contain everybody. So it is not an excuse. I understand that, like Mr. Emmanuel said, the registration is permissible, but I said timing is wrong. If after the election, 2027 election, and INEC deem it right that they want to deregister inactive political parties, of course, they can go ahead, but not when an election as 2027 is around the corner. That is just the issue. America have more political parties than Democrat and Republican. And I believe India have more. So this is the size of the size of ballot is irrelevant in this conversation. The timing is wrong. The perception of the people have changed. Why? Because of the call for the registration. I believe that is the position. Let democracy be played well by what? By Democrats. Democrats should allow democracy to flourish, especially in Nigeria. That is the point.
Mr. All right, Mr. Emmanuel, before Veronica will come in, let me get to ask you one question, because we're talking about ideology and the practice over time in Nigeria to build our politics around individuals rather than institutionalized and ideologically identified political institutions or political parties, if you like. And of course, all the hues and cries, especially about this deregistration of these 5 political parties, has largely been around ADC and not other political parties. And this can be explained because of the individuals that have found themselves in that political, under that political umbrella of ADC. Shouldn't we begin to move towards building political parties that are ideologically different from each other so that Nigerians can be able to have a choice? Instead of, if Atiku should move from ADC today to Zenith Labour Party, for example, then Zenith Labour Party becomes the party of choice for Nigerians. If Obi should move from ADC to NDC as he has done, NDC becomes a party to reckon with, which in the past, it wasn't so. Shouldn't we begin to look towards building ideologically different and ideologically defined political institutions rather than, following individuals wherever they go?
Well, after the first republic, where we have the action group, NCDC, and the rest, and we had military interruptions here and there. There was a decline in terms of political ideology. All the political parties after military rule became cult personalities, as it were, like you rightly noted. It became a matter of who was on the ballot and not what each political party represented. And that decline has subsisted up till now, where if you pick the manifesto of a political party, say the APC, and you place it side by side with the former ruling PDP, there wasn't much difference. And if you listen to the political actors in terms of their conversation on issues, whether in terms of the economy, in terms of subsidy, in terms of security, there hasn't been much difference in their thoughts. Like in 2023, after President Ballot Tinubu removed this fuel subsidy, the argument hasn't been that subsidy shouldn't be removed. All the other political parties have been in terms of methodology, and which tells you that Nigeria still has a long way to go because with the emergence of candidates, though we haven't seen the list, but if you go by what we've heard, whispers and what are the very few ones that are very apparent in terms of the candidates that are emerging, you will clearly see that it isn't based on any clarity or transparency. So this idea that politics has to be built around a cult personality, and like you rightly noted, if Obi moved away from Labour Party and because of his personality, people won election, and that's why you see there has been an influx into the NDC. Nigeria needs a political acculturation. We need a rethinking. We need, like during IBB, we had new breed politicians. So we need new breed politicians going forward after 2027. But the question remains, who will bail the cat? Who is willing, to dig deep and to dig in to ensure that we have new sets of individuals that will not be institutions to themselves, but that the political parties themselves will be the main machinery. And it's very difficult. That's why you see Atiku Abubakar, for instance, his longevity, on the political space. People say, give way for a younger person. And there is nobody he has mentored to come and say, okay, this is our ideology, this is the individual. The only person that has come closest is Kwankwaso through his Kwankwasia movement. For them, it's an ideology. Everybody has that red and white cap, that identifies them. We had Aminu Kanu that talked about the Talakawas, the poor in Kanu, and in northern Nigeria. But today, you can't differentiate one political party from the other. And it is regrettable. It is up to political scientists to say, listen, we must build parties based on ideology, on social contract with the people. Do you have socialist tendencies? If you do, this is our manifesto And anybody that is elected based on that party manifesto will implement it. That's why you see people win elections, they go into office, they don't know what their party manifestos are, they just do what they want. One state does well, we use it as a barometer for the other states, and nothing changes. You know, people just want to get into office for themselves, not necessarily because they want to serve the people. So we must serve a template. You know, that's where the media comes in. The media in Nigeria needs to set a template and say, listen, for too long you've grouped in the dark. For too long there have been no direction. Now is the time for us to hold people by ideology and to demand that the political parties themselves are institutions. Unfortunately, we don't have. That's why you see the president is the leader of the party. In the Second Republic, when Shagari was president, he wasn't the leader of MPN. It was impossible that Awolowo was the leader of Action Group, you know, in the First Republic. But today, governors are leaders in their state, while you have a party chairman. The president is the leader of the party when you have a national chairman of a party. It tells you it is built around cult, and any society that does that isn't ready for development.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Seems there's a lot of controversy surrounding the decision. However, I just want to ask you, Mr. Patrick, what reforms would you recommend to ensure that party regulation remains fair and transparent as we round off the first half of the conversation?
Party regulation?
I said, what reforms would you recommend to ensure that the regulations regarding political parties in Nigeria remain fair and transparent about who can participate in the elections?
Excellent. I think, one, there should be general consciousness of the people. My colleague just talked about acculturation and political rethinking. What about the masses? In Ekiti yesterday, they were throwing Gary at them and they were picking. The best reform is the reform of the mindset of the citizens. Leave the leaders aside. INEC on his own parts must be forward in its regulation. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with them, the registering party, but the timing is wrong. Thirdly, the sincerity of Nigerians. Nigerians are not sincere. They are lamenting, Tinubu this, but they are still collecting Gary, not even rice. They have devalued the people. They have devalued the people. Then, fourthly, this money politics must be discouraged. Money politics must be discouraged. If they can achieve one or two of these few recommendations that I know that they will not use, true, the party in Nigeria will be strong. The party in Nigeria, the masses are hungry, and even the leaders are hungry for power and hungry for food, which is not good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick.
Reforming of the mind of the people is key and sacrosanct.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick, for your final take. As I go to Mr. Emmanuel to ask this very last question. In your own view, how do you think we can strike a balance between maintaining what INEC refers to as viable political parties and, of course, protecting democratic pluralism? How do we proceed from here?
Well, first of all, we must agree that internal party democracy would be a basis for a new rethinking. Unfortunately, most of the political parties do not abide by their own constitution, by their own internal mechanism. If a party abides by its own regulation, the tendency for it to outlive and attract sincere individuals, citizens that are willing to serve, citizens that know that once they are once they are members of that party and they vie for office, they will not be shortchanged. Then such parties are bound to engender pluralism, like you noted. It isn't really just about the INEC, because most of these parties have played into the hands of the electoral umpire. If you do not abide by your party guidelines or constitution, then it is recipe for disaster. It is recipe for all sorts of untoward intervention by the Electoral Commission. Then we must also strengthen the judiciary. The very notion that the judiciary cannot intervene in political matters is not ideal. Imagine a situation where you contest in a primary election and you won, and the party hierarchy swaps your name for a candidate that didn't win or didn't participate in the process, and you cannot challenge it in court. How then do we guarantee active participation? You know, all of these things weaken citizens' participation because people believe that the parties are special purpose vehicles for certain individuals and for certain interests. Therefore, their own interest is not protected once they do not belong to a certain cabal. So we must find a way to ensure that parties adhere to their internal mechanism. We must checkmate INEC's overreach, you know, in trying to whittle down party management and party organization. And I think if we do that with what Patrick has said, we'll be good to go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel Ogbeche, a very prominent political analyst and media consultant based in Abuja. I also want to say sincere thank you to you, Mr. Rwang Patrick Stephen, from the Department of Political Science, Faculty of Social Sciences at the Federal University of Kashiri in Gombe State. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We've been discussing the impact of INEC's decision to deregister 5 political parties in the lead-up to the 2027 general election. We will go on a break. By the time we return, it will be time for our second topic. Veronique.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I could see Mr. Patrick was still in the comments insisting that the best reform is the reform of the mind. Well noted. We appreciate your comments, sirs, and hopefully we'll have more conversations as Nigeria prepares for the 2027 general elections. It was a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You finally show your face, okay?
All right, if you're just joining us, this is West Africa Democracy Radio, and we are also broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook. This is Citizens Hour, coming to you live from Dakar, Senegal. You can listen online at WADR.org. We have been cutting through the nose on electoral reforms in Nigeria, and now we pivot to a shadow war impacting every single border post in West Africa. Usman.
Yes, that's very correct, Veronique. And of course, when millions of dollars worth of pure cocaine or synthetic opioids slip through a port city undetected, it is never an accident, of course. It's an institutional failure. Somebody somewhere is responsible for that. So we are diving into the complex underbelly of narcotics transit and corruption. Veronique.
All right, Usman, to get the conversation going, we will be joined by Dauda Sanyang from the Drug Law Enforcement Agency of the Gambia. Dauda was here shortly, but I think maybe the conversation got a bit longer and he's no more with us, but he will join us shortly. And we'll also be joined by a regional expert, Sam Siron, who is a regional security and counter-narcotics expert. But now let's take a short break and then we will be back with the conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Your current affairs program, Citizens Hour, is now more inclusive, more educative, and brings you a broader perspective on political and governance matters. This quarter on Citizens Hour, we spotlight issues on democracy, civic education, women and youth participation in governance, and other policy issues. Every Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. and a repeat broadcast at 6 p.m. on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM, Dakar. Also, don't miss our special monthly debate, which comes up every last Saturday of the month on trending political and governance issues in the sub-region. Citizens Hour on West Africa Democracy Radio. It's your time to speak.
I have witnessed so many elections, and I will tell you for a fact that INEC cannot deliver free and fair election.
We need to even unpack what political commitment is.
This April on West Africa Democracy Radio, Citizens Hour goes to the Sahel.
Democracy right now in Mali is an idea that has been rejected.
The multinational Joint Task Force remains committed to its mandate of creating a safe and secure environment in the Lake Chad areas.
In partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, your favorite democracy and governance program will focus on Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other West African countries, including Benin, Nigeria, the Gambia, and Togo. From comprehensive election coverage to informative investigative pieces, this upcoming season will provide new insights and thought-provoking conversations. Citizens Hour Season 2, in partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar. It's you speaking.
Welcome back. This is Citizens Hour on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. This is the second half of the conversation. Previously, you listened as we discussed the situation in Nigeria with the political parties, the 5 political parties that have been deregistered. And now we are about to cross over to a topic, an important topic in West Africa, with drug seizures announced almost every time in the sub-region. We have been joined by Chief Inspector of the Gambia Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Dauda Sanyang. Good morning, Mr. Sanyang.
Morning.
How are you, and how is the Gambia?
Alhamdulillah, I am fine, thanks. The Gambia is okay. It has been raining since yesterday.
Great to have you join us.
Thank you.
All right, Usman.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Dauda.
Thank you, sir.
It's great to know that the Smiling Coast is having a very wonderful weather this morning.
Indeed, indeed.
All right. How prevalent is the issue of drug trafficking in the Gambia in particular and in West Africa in general?
Thank you very much. That is a very important question. The Drug Law Enforcement Agency is doing all means to make sure that we suppress supply suppression and equally drug demand reduction in the Gambia and in West Africa as a whole and in the whole world. To be honest with you, drug abuse is prevalent in the country. From January to now, we've seized a lot of cannabis, a lot of cannabis skunk, we call cannabis rudalaris, and we have seized a lot of cocaine that are on transit from the Gambia to other parts of the world. Recently, the recent
All right, it seems Dauda is experiencing some network challenge. Hopefully he gets it sorted. But from what he was saying, Usman, it seems like this is a very prevalent issue in West Africa. We've also seen drug seizures in Liberia, Gambia, Sierra Leone, undoubtedly.
Nigeria as well, because as very recently as this very 2026, according to statistics from the Nigeria Drug Law Enforcement Agency, I think quite a number of especially hard drugs have been intercepted at airports, at seaports, and even the most worrisome is the discovery of underground fake drug manufacturing factories across Nigeria. You wouldn't believe that cocaine was found to have been hidden in a merchant vessel as early as this 2026. NDLEA, of course, arrested about 11 Indian sailors and their vessel. They discovered about 31.5 kilograms of cocaine that were concealed in a cargo. Away from that, of course, Guinea-Bissau has also entered into the foray because 2.63 tons of cocaine was seized from an aircraft in early 2025. And as you mentioned, of course, Gulf of Guinea is also in the news with this amount of seizures. Now, Mr. Dauda, of course,
yes.
Having been in the field as an enforcement officer, how worrisome is this trend? Because before now, we used to hear that West Africa is a transit corridor for these drugs.
Oh.
But now it's becoming something else, like a consumption point. How worrisome is this trend?
To be honest, we're worried because the issue is once they use a country or a nation as a transit point, they will have to test the market and see. Some of these substances will remain to pay for services, and equally they will want to test the market and see if the people in these countries are also going to be interested in this. So this is what brings in most of the abuses. Like in the Gambia here, if you go to Kololi Tavern this early morning, you will find a lot of people there that are addicted to cocaine. These people did not have anywhere to sleep, so they sleep on streets. So the Drug Law Enforcement Agency said, okay, what we will do is, because there is no rehabilitation center in the Gambia, so recently we are trying to build a rehabilitation center in the country, and we equally are partnered with some CSOs that are also trying to make sure that they help these people that are addicted to these substances because they do not have anywhere to go. Yes.
Mr. Dauda, permit me to just cut you to welcome the other of our guests, your co-panelist, who has been able to join us at this moment. We want to say a warm welcome to Mr. Sam Sion, a leading regional security and counter-narcotics expert and chief inspector, of course, who is joining us all the way from Liberia. Thank you very much, Mr. Sam, for finally joining us.
Thank you. I was having difficulties, but thank God I'm finally in. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
It's good to have you. Thank you very much. We're good.
All right.
All right, Mr. Dauda, you can land on your thoughts. Thank you for that opportunity.
Yes. So as I rightly mentioned, they're using West Africa as a transit point, but equally, some of these drugs will remain in the country where services have to be paid, and equally to test the market and see. That is where our youths will involve into these hard drugs, and eventually they will be addicted to these hard drugs. And once they are addicted to it, they will have to make sure that they survive their lifestyles. Either they will have to venture into things that are not normal to make sure they have money to be buying these substances and continue using it. So this is the issue, and the Gambia is not an exception. Last arrest that we did at the airport, we have arrested over 37 blocks of cocaine This drug, they are trying to smuggle it so that it can go to Europe. So on our investigations, because we cannot work without information, we act on that information intelligently, and one of the staff that is at the airport was arrested with 37 blocks of cocaine. But not only cocaine alone, cannabis rudara, the skunk. Most of the arrests in the Gambia here, it is coming from outside. Our brothers and our sisters that are in Europe are the ones that are bringing this. So recently we have arrested over 45 packs of, I can say over 100 packs of cannabis skunk were arrested at the airport. And last year, I think we all know ecstasy too. Last year, we have arrested over 400,000 pills of ecstasy. This is our own Gambian brother who is in abroad, sending this ecstasy to the wife and other partners so that they can be selling this. And one,
Mr.
Yes.
I know that Veronique wants to jump in to ask Mr. Saab a question, but from what you are saying, a lot of seizures have been made, and despite these major seizures, the trade continues to grow. Now, is it that you guys, the law enforcement agencies, are fighting the symptoms rather than the networks?
Yes, we are fighting the network together with the symptoms. But drugs is a chain work. It is not easy to fight. It needs a concerted effort to make sure that we fight this menace. So, but sometimes you might arrest, do all your things, and then when it arrives at the court, it is another scenario.
All right.
That is the issue. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanyang. Mr. Sam, I'll bring you in. Obviously, from the conversation, you could hear there have been a lot of drug busts across the region. We've seen Liberia, we've seen Sierra Leone, the Gambia. Just this week, Senegal intercepted almost 1 ton of cocaine in the country. And one would ask, why is the business still in, or why is drugs still in business? What is driving the business across the region? A question for you.
Is that question for me?
Yes, please.
All right. So West Africa, particularly our Shire region, West Africa, we have a porous borders. The international cartel often exploits our porous borders and largely unsupervised coastal line that transits hop for bulk shipment intended for larger audience in Europe and America. Look, we are security forces in the region. I have served as the head of criminal investigations at the Liberia National Police for years. I also served as deputy head of the National Security Agencies in Liberia. I have been on all the front. So they explore these porous borders that we have in our region, especially our coastal line. So these shipments largely are brought in from North America, Colombia, Brazil, and this network. The cartel are protected. This is the difficulty for in the region. The cartel identified powerful officials in government, powerful community leaders. So they infiltrate these people. So as a result, the cartel are protected by a complex network of corrupt officials. Sometimes you like how this happened yesterday and we see having it happening today. These protected layers are built by the cartel. When these layers are built, they try the route. They will try the route with a small consignment. Later on, more consignment and start to use that route. So these mentors are involved, particularly in our region, West Africa, Barbary. You know, we have a vulnerable population in West Africa. Very vulnerable population, particularly the young populations. People trying to find means of survival outside of an employment. Most of the time, the vulnerable people find something like drug trafficking. So these traffickers take advantage of our West Africa poor situation and they keep infiltrating our region. So we in Liberia and the rest of the region, we will continue to experience these cartel operations until our government and ECOWAS will have to stand out and ensure that our security forces are well paid, well equipped at various supervision level to ensure that no one in the system can be easily compromised to take bribes from these people.
But Mr. Cyril, just to come in, I know you did speak about the porous borders, but is it that traffickers are becoming more sophisticated in the methods they use to evade detection? Because just the case of Senegal this week, we saw that they hid it under fruits. They didn't even take the main road, borders, like you said. And I mean, they've been using sophisticated means of making sure that they are not detected. Could that be the problem?
That's why we talk about the cartel are protected by a complex of network and corrupt officials. So every time you try to track this mentor, know they're going to use the next mentor. Every time you use this mentor, they're using this mentor. Our drug fighting agents, our law enforcement officials in our region, we are not sophisticated enough to be able to provide surveillance to track trafficking routes. And this requires the government budgetary allowance being made to increase budgetary proposal for the security forces, particularly drug and to be higher on now. Drug wars happening in the country. Every the security forces, they feel they need to do that. That is not being done. That's why, in my point, we should ensure that the agents, the drug enforcement agency, other law enforcement agents, because this is not just limited to the drug enforcement agency. This is a complex enforced on West Africa. So the entire security system, the apparatus, need to work as a team to ensure we track these trafficking routes and identify the cartel that are sitting in different parts of the world coordinating their drugs in our region.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sam. I go back to you now, Mr. Dauda, because even in your own earlier submission, you did talk about how Gambians based abroad are the ones coordinating drug-related activities in the country. And very recently, in what Nigeria Drug Law Enforcement Agency described as its largest drug bust till date, where in the southwest of the country, in Ogun State to be specific, a factory, a methamphetamine production facility was discovered, and they of course seized about 2.4 tons of drug-related chemicals that are valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. And then at the root of it was a Mexican. And the question I'm asking you is this. How worrisome is this trend about globalization of these networks? Because Mr. Sam talked about how it is high time ECOWAS and other regional bodies come together. But if we look at it, it's like West African countries have just been on their own, at their own level, trying to fight something that is globally, something that is global. So how worrisome is it that you can have a Mexican come into Nigeria, have a factory set up that can produce drugs to worth hundreds of millions of dollars? How worrisome is this situation?
It is indeed worrisome. As he mentioned, ECOWAS alone cannot be able to fight this. This is a global issue. And as he mentioned, drug is a chain work, and they infiltrate the government, politics, especially in West Africa, our politicians. So sometimes these drug dealers will come and present themselves as philanthropists. The last time we arrested one British national in the Gambia here, who is a so-called philanthropist. But on the whole, this individual too is trying to make sure that he cultivates cannabis skunk in the country. He wants to see if this cannabis can be grown in the country, because previously skunk is imported to the country. But he was here, he rented an apartment. That apartment, there is nobody living in the apartment. On the whole, he had a security and a dog. So he's trying to make sure he see whether this can be grown in the country here. So upon investigation, we were able to arrest him. And when we took him to court, you know what happened? This individual was fined to pay just $100 and something thousand, and immediately he paid, and then he continued. Then we arrested him again. When we arrested him again, then we tried to make sure that we bring in the other cases that he was involved in. And what we advised was for him to be sent out of the country. So they will come and then present themselves as so-called philanthropists trying to help while they have a hidden agenda. So this is the issue. Our borders too, he mentioned that. In the Gambia here, the last time we went to see our borders, we have almost, we are bordered with Casamas. Around that end alone, we have more than 100 porous borders where people can smuggle in and then come in. And we are trying to make sure that people that are coming with these drugs, from January to now, we have arrested over hundreds of bundles of cannabis. And we are going to do a drug destruction coming Saturday. We are going to celebrate it together with World Drug Day. We are going to destroy over a ton of cocaine that we are arrested in the country here. So you see how worrisome this is. Over a ton of cocaine, how small the Gambia is going in the country that is going to be destroyed next Saturday. So I think this is a concerted effort, all Africans to come together, and then we partnered with international organizations to make sure that the people that are coming into our countries, we try to scrutinize them and see who are these people and what agenda are they having. And he equally mentioned sophisticated materials. Some of us are working without any sophisticated material to detect drugs. So people that are bringing in these containers into the country, we all know, sometimes they will bring in things that are either precursors or drugs. So if we have sophisticated materials that can detect these precursors and other drugs, that will also help. But as we speaking, some of the law enforcement officers did not have any material that can detect drugs. So what all we do is physical searching. And sometimes, obviously, or some will escape if you are only doing physical searching at the borders, at the airports, and other parts of the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanyang. Mr. Sam, I'll bring you in. How much of drug trafficking problems can be attributed to corruption within these institutions or within the institutions that are supposed to ensure that they don't happen?
Well, we have a lot, and for us it's difficult, like the colleague from Gambia just said, it's difficult if you have the agent responsible for arrest and investigating drugs are not equipped. The corruption is visible because our government agencies responsible for this work are not well funded. They have no equipment. Some don't even have camera. Imagine that. We're not talking about detection equipment that you can use to detect. Drugs are being brought in West Africa in frozen container, in other material. We don't have the ability to so bulk of these things go to our government. For me, the government bears the primary responsibility to empower anti-drug agents by providing adequate funding, modern equipment, and robust legal framework. Authorities must facilitate the interagency collaboration to ensure support for prosecution and implement a straight anti-corruption measure to ensure to keep the integrity of the agency. What our government should be doing right now, they should be making contact because their drugs are leaving from, it's not intended for our region. Our region is being used as a transit route to go to Europe and America. Our West African government should start to request Europe and America so they can have people posted at our major points of entry, those points of entry that lead to their own country. They should have those gateways from Liberia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Gambia, so they are posted there with their sophisticated equipment, so they can also conduct tests and ensure commodities that are intended for their country go through their own screening exercises. Our government in the region should start to make this request, because what we have seen a weakened West Africa, poorer border West Africa, non-supervised border West Africa, coastal line, non-supervised coastal West Africa that is being exploited by traffickers.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sam. And of course, before I come to you for your final take, Mr. Dauda, we have a comment from our earlier guest, Mr. Stephen Ruang, who says, let them not fight the symptoms, but the root or network. The companies producing the drugs should be hunted down. It is clear that the three most dangerous jobs or cartels in the world are gun running, drugs smuggling, and human trafficking. The cartels are too strong, they are too strong, but not impossible to extinguish. Colombia, Brazil networks should be disconnected completely. That is a comment from one of our earlier guests, Mr. Ruang Patrick Stephen. Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen, for sticking by and, of course, contributing to this conversation. Now, Mr. Dauda, because you are an enforcement officer, and my grandfather would always tell me that if you go into the river to go and fish, you go with a basket to go and fish. That the amount of fish you are able to catch with your basket does not determine the number of fishes in the river. With all these number of arrests that you've been making, busts that you've been making, and all of that, which are huge in number, both in terms of their financial cost and even the number of the drugs being seized, does that suggest that the issue of drug in West Africa particularly is way more than we are actually talking about? And as a way of drawing the curtain on this conversation, I want you to speak to us as an enforcement officer. What should ordinary citizens be involved in? Because at the end of the day, this program is for the citizens of West Africa and the role they can play in bettering their respective societies. What will be your call to citizens of West Africa in terms of what they can actually begin to do, looking at the magnitude of this issue?
Thank you very much. The citizens of West Africa, the advice or what I have for them is to make sure we all put our hand on deck and to make sure that we fight drugs and substance abuse in our countries. Drugs are dangerous. They are dangerous that they ruin the future of a particular country, especially the creams of the society that are the youths. So if all the youths involved in the drugs tomorrow who are going to be the future of that particular nation, so it's worrisome. So in the Gambia here, we are not only limiting to arresting and prosecution. I equally headed a unit called Drug Demand Reduction Unit, Media and Advocacy. So what we do most of the time is we partner with CSOs, we do community sensitization, we do radio programs and school outreach. So last week, we went to main garages to talk to drivers and car park operators, to talk to them so that they will not involved into transporting these drugs for people, because some people will come and tell you, okay, take this for me from point A to point Z. So you have to find out what is inside this. If you detect that this is a drug, because if you are arrested with this, even if it is given to you by me,
it becomes your property.
It becomes your property. So last week, we went to up countries, the main garages, we talked to those people. But equally, as I said, we go to schools to make sure that we sensitize our students on drugs and related matters so that they will not go into it. Out of school children too, that is the youths. We make sure they are better sensitized to make sure they stay away from drugs and substance abuse too.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Sam, let's have your last word in the next 60 seconds, please.
Okay, so I will follow suit We say this all the time. The law enforcement people are not present in all of the communities all of the times. The citizens are present in all of the community all of the times. The issues of drugs in the region, it is a shared responsibility that the citizen will have to take a lead. The government will have to provide educational mentors to understand that the citizen reporting drugs activities, drugs criminals, drugs cartel in their community, it will be safety issue for themselves. When the citizen realize that reporting a cartel, illegal, suspicious activity in your community that may relate to drugs will be for the safety of the community, the sooner they understand that, they will start to do the reporting system. We realize that primary people in our community are not knowledgeable to the workings of the law. For them, when arrest is made, the individual is taken away, that person is already guilty. They don't know that there's a procedure in the process of arresting and investigating. So the citizen need to take a lead. The government will have to provide that education to the citizen that drugs in your neighborhood is a threat to you, your safety, and your children. Because drug trafficking comes with banditry. Drug trafficking comes with kidnapping, it comes with money laundering. It is an organized crime that associates with violent acts. So we should discourage our community from bringing in people in the community who can come to be some humanitarian people, but behind the scene, they actually are distributing drugs in our community.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sam, for that. And Usman, any final remarks before we conclude?
It's just for me to say a sincere thank you to both of our guests, Mr. Sam Sion, a leading regional security and counter-narcotics expert, and of course, Chief Inspector Dauda Sanyang from the Drug Law Enforcement Agency of the Gambia, or the DLEAG. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your very, very insightful thoughts as we draw the curtains on this edition of the program. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, that's where we must draw the curtain on today's live debate. On this edition, we tracked the democratic ripples of party downsizing in Abuja and confronted the structural corruption shielding the regional drug trade. And it's been an absolute eye-opener. Yes, Usman, go ahead, please.
Of course, as you will agree, it has been an incredibly eye-opening 90 minutes. I sincerely thank you, Veronique, for being on the other end of the conversation. Now, to our listeners, I want to say you can rewatch or share the full episode of this very broadcast on our Facebook and YouTube pages, or you can just grab the audio podcast format at WADR.org. Thank you for joining us from my end here in Abuja. I am Osman Omar. Do have a fantastic weekend.
And I am Veronique Njai in Dakar. Immense appreciation to our production team and technical team as well. Take care.
Citizens Hour